connected to all these points. The first point you made about the reset and the relationship in this classroom enhancement fund, and I think people have made the point, this is money which was robbed from kids in 2001, and now we're getting it back. So it's restoration, but what the reset will be affected by the realities of what happened right now. For example, in Vancouver, the appointed trustee has got a proposal on the table that $7 million of those funds be used to cover underfunding by the provincial government. Now, if that's what happens, and there's been on and off, yes, we can do it, yes, we can't, that is not going to help the reset, because teachers want to see this money put back into teachers, which was taken away from kids. So it becomes a matter of how we work this. So I sure, and what it's done is given the government a convenient way to not restore funding and deal with the underfunding issue. Issues such as inflation, increment, costs, BC Hydro increases, MSP increases are not going to be covered for boards again. And instead of giving them the money to do that, the fund is being used for that. So I don't know how, I'd be interested in your observations on how this could affect that reset relationship for teachers who have fought so hard for this funding and are now being used to cover the shortfalls of government.
And say, well, where do we begin? So first of all, the ministry and the Minister of Education are going to work with the resources they're provided with, whether it's just the increases from the Supreme Court-driven agreement. Maybe, I think in order to maintain that, government's going to have to be at least incrementally increasing the numbers every year. I'm not the expert on the Vancouver situation that you are. I do understand that there is some confusion which is not apt to be resolved, at least for the next month, around Vancouver and what they can do with this money or that. Will all of that inhibit a better relationship? It may. It may have an impact on it. I think even in a zero funding increase environment, a better relationship is still possible. I think a better relationship is still beneficial for the broader system. I think all of this is easier with more money. It is. What my apprehension is at this point is that not just the BC Liberals and their potential re-election, but the NDP and their bid for election, and I don't know, maybe it'll be true of the Greens as well, is that the parties will blow their brains out on a series of commitments in non-education areas, and then the residual after all the toll payments have been relieved. The MSP is no longer getting that million or billion and a half when other changes are made, that there won't be a lot left there for education. So I mean, that's my fear. I hope I'm an old pessimistic man whose concerns will be proven unwarranted, but I suspect that's going to be the case.
There's only so much to go around. I guess my question, and I'm looking for your thoughts, is there is only so much to go around if you make the pie a certain size. If you increase the size of the pie, you don't need to pull from one to give to the other. So if government, and Mr. Jiang said it again during the budget thing, that education is the most important service they provide. So without taking money from any of the other social services, which in fairness have their own issues and their own funding problems, but specifically to education as a percentage of budget has been declining. And if you increase the pie, given we have a $2 billion surplus, it is possible to put more money where it is needed, is it not?
Yes, it is. So there is a big difference for government, and this goes to your analogy of the pie. If that pie grows by 5%, there's, based on whatever the hell the budget is these days, 60 billion or whatever it is, there's a substantial incremental growth in the pie, which can be distributed in ways which government determines. For at least the years from 2009 forward, that number has stayed pretty much at zero for education until recently. I would have loved to have seen more of the $2 billion go to education. I presume that with the agreement, and I haven't seen the costing of the agreement to this point, but I gather it's in the $300 million range, so that's a significant incremental lift, and you know, that's a good thing. Is it enough? I don't know. It may well not be enough, and is it being directed to the right things is another question, and that's where I think the linkage back to a stronger relationship, a more constructive relationship between the BCTF, the School Trustees Association, and government would be a really, really valuable thing. We need not only to be spending more, but we need to be spending it in the right places where it's going to exact the greatest public benefit for the taxpayers and for parents.